That was a long loading screen, my goodness. Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. Today I'm doing a mod, I can't believe I'm saying this, for Guild Wars 2, a mod spotlight. There aren't really many mods for Guild Wars 2, and certainly I'm not the first to talk about this one, but this is the Immersive Combat Mode. I guess I've been calling it a mod. I don't know whether they brand themselves as a mod, but it's a fantastic little add-on you can put in Guild Wars 2 as far as add-ons really go for this game that changes the way the combat works. It's actually been out for a long time. It's been iterated on a lot well over a year now, and I finally decided to take a look at it, mainly because I want to be using it for this new character I've made here, this Ranger, which I'll be playing very shortly in kind of a challenge style thing. So I've been checking out and it's an awful lot of fun. I wanted to share it with you guys and let people know really exactly what it does, because it's one of those weird things that, if you ask me, that some people might be put off using, when in fact it's actually not doing that much to your game at all. It's just got drastic consequences to the little things it does. So basically, in a nutshell, what this game does is change the way that the combat works. It won't make you a better player at the game, okay? Just the name itself should be an indication to you that this isn't going to make you, like, amazing, okay? It's the Immersive Combat Mode, right? So really, it's the kind of thing you might want to use, particularly for me, while running around the main world. Maybe you're not doing dungeons. I know, like, for a fact, for example, that installing this mod, as it were, will actually make me basically unviable as a elementalist in dungeons, because it breaks the way Fiery Greatsword works. So you do want to consider that. I think some people will make the argument that this can make you a better player at Guild Wars 2, but I really don't think that's true. In a lot of ways, it's just restricting the kind of things you can do in combat, while giving you a lot of quality of life in other ways. So anyway, look, I'll explain. First thing you'll notice is my UI is rather different. You'll see my skill bar down there with my health and so forth is kind of floating awkwardly a little bit up from the screen. Now, why is that? That's because the mod has removed certain elements of the UI, namely that really obnoxious black border that takes up so much screen real estate in Guild Wars 2, and a lot of people have never really liked, and ArenaNet have never let us turn off. Well, this mod will actually get rid of that, and also in the case of the skill bar at the bottom, it's actually removed my experience bar, so that's no longer there. The mod can basically turn things off on the UI, but it can't move stuff around. Unfortunately, we're still nowhere near the wonderful old glory days of yore in Guild Wars 1, where we could do absolutely anything we wanted with our UI, but this is pretty good. The other thing that this thing will turn off by default is up in the top left. You'll notice all of these little notifications up here. These things turn off while you're not looking in menus and things, so that you can have that bit more of an immersive experience. At the same time, the notifications, so for example, I've got 2 mails waiting for me here, they will always persist even though everything else turns off. So it might look kind of ugly that that 2 is up there floating in red, but at least it lets me know, hey, I just got a new mail. Or if something just sold for me in the trading post, hey, my gold is there, or my new item from the trading post is there, my bag is full, and so on and so forth. And so this is the general way your UI will look. The mod does come with various options I'll talk about just in a short while. One I in particular thoroughly enjoy and have enabled is the option to turn off your mini-map. So in theory, I can still press M and look at my world map just fine. I can still go to, say, scouts while leveling up, and I'll be able to find my world map just fine. But while wandering around in the game, my attention is no longer permanently drawn to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, where I'm always just looking at how I can rush to the next point of interest or heart, for example. Now, obviously, this is going to be kind of annoying if you are just going for world completion, but if you are making a character purely for the fun of it, and I know that sounds kind of crazy, and you've maybe got a different goal, you just want to get to level 80, or you want to complete the personal story somehow, which is absolutely what I want to do with this Ranger, the idea of turning off the minimap is a really enticing one to me. I'm even going to go personally so far as to unbind my map, but maybe that's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. So not only is there an option to turn off the minimap, but there are options to turn off many other things. You'll see right now, one thing that's still very clustered on the UI is the top right hand corner. Look at this, I got personal story steps there, I've got living world up there, I've got a heart quest, my dailies, and an event all there at once, right? It's very cluttered. The mod will actually give you the option to turn any number of these off as well if you wish. So if you've decided, look, I really don't care about my dailies while I'm playing on this character, boom, you can turn it off. If you don't care about the events that are there, you're just going for world completion stuff, you can turn it off. If you never want to see the personal story stuff, but you don't want to get all the way to level 80 and complete it, which I know many people do, like this is one of the heaviest incentives to complete the personal story, just to get it off your UI. I believe Combat Mod can actually turn that off too. I, however, as I say, I've got that stuff left on. Most wonderfully too, all of these UI changes that this mod offers you will be available just on their own if you want. When you download the mod, you don't have to gain all the combat changes, which actually there aren't too many, and I'll explain very shortly. But you can just go for the UI stuff if you like. And I know for many people, that's going to be something quite big when they're considering actually running this thing. It's a really cool option. I'm very glad that the maker of the mod actually decided to put it in. So let's talk about what it changes with combat. Basically, the game has 2 modes now. In really early versions of combat mods, it would be kind of clunky and annoying, and you'd have to manually swap between those modes. Like, you'd have to bind a hotkey, and you'd be going in combat mode, which is what I'm currently in, to, like, menu mode, which is now what I'm in, where I've got a cursor on my screen. So it's got 2 modes, right? One of them is, like, the default way of playing Guild Wars 2, which is this. I've got a cursor. I can use it to move stuff around in my inventory. I can use it to check anything I like. I can go, say, into my my pet management over here, and I'll have my cursor up and so forth. And if I don't need to use my cursor for anything, if I'm not, say, at a merchant, if I'm not doing any crafting, and I turn this stuff off, the mod will automatically toggle me into a new mode, in which one of the key features, I swear to you, of this mod is right mouse button is permanently held down. What it's done is it's centered my cursor in the middle of the screen, and now without me having to do anything, the right mouse button's always held down. And, you know, it's funny, I spend so much of my time playing Guild Wars 2 with the right mouse button held down. You don't think about it, but this is actually a huge change. It actually got to the point for this mouse in particular, I play so much Guild Wars 2 and have that bind on so much that I've ended up wearing away my mouse, and this is why I have a lot of click issues you guys might be familiar with in some of my videos. So that's one of the big things that the mod does. It literally just has it permanently held down, and all of a sudden that alone makes the game feel very different. It makes it feel much more like some kind of action RPG. I suppose Guild Wars would, they call themselves an action RPG on some level, but this is like, I feel like I'm playing maybe Ratchet and Clank, you know, some kind of action platformer that you'd find on a console, and it really does improve things. The other thing that the game does is it changes the way that you can, and you have to do stuff in, say, your options to install it like this, but it'll change the way that you interact with enemies in combat scenarios. So instead of like constantly, you know, tab targeting to select a target and then going in and attacking, you don't need to tab target ever anymore. It's all what you can see and where you can aim, and the game will assist you to some extent. So if I want to fight this jungle grub, I'll just walk over to him and try and use my skill, and the game will actually help me secure a target without ever doing any tab targeting. You'll notice that while we're in combat 2, that we actually have a crosshair appears in the middle of the screen. As soon as you leave combat, the crosshair will go away again, I believe after a short delay, so there you go. You'll see it in the middle here, and this actually helps you to aim during fights, say any AoEs you may want to be dropping, or say I was on like a longbow and I was much further back. It gives you that, like that extra bit of an action experience. Very, very interesting. Really, that's all that the mod does in terms of combat. It makes 2 changes to your clicks. See, when do you need to mouse click in Guild Wars 2? Let me ask you that. Most of the time when you need to mouse click is when you've got your cursor up. See, I need to mouse click right now to, you know, move my air elemental to summon it. But what about while I'm in combat? Well, actually, that bind's not really used for anything while you're in combat. So what it does is it rebinds both of your mouse clicks. Right mouse button is constantly held down, so that actually frees up a slot on your mouse. And what it does is it means that if you want to attack, you can left click. So you get that big sort of like action experience of, you know, clicking every time you want to use an individual skill. And I'll get to why I don't use that in a second. But also it rebinds the right mouse button to dodge roll. So you can actually dodge roll whenever you like just by clicking the mouse. And by shifting it all over there onto your right hand, it does change the way that the combat in the game feels a lot. Now, obviously, it's going to be pretty lame. MMOs are big games. I am certainly not going to be wanting to run around using, what is this? It's not Spitblade, is it? I'm not going to want to be manually using every single ricochet. So personally, I just click the first time and let it autocast after that, and then use my other skills, you know, as I regularly can. So really, those are the core changes to it. The mod is greatly improved from when I originally looked at it, you know, a year ago or so, back when you had to manually change the modes, but it's actually very intelligent now. If the game detects that you've pulled up, say, your inventory on the UI, then it will automatically know to swap its mode so that you get your cursor. If I am just wandering around Tyria and I decide, hey, I want to go speak to a merchant, I don't know whether I can really find anyone near here, but the second I speak to him, or say any NPC, right? So this heart vendor over here, if I want to speak to him, see what he needs some help with, automatically the game will throw me into the regular mode. It will give me all my elements of the UI back. I can see how close I am to leveling up. It's changed some of the UI here. It's actually removed the backgrounds. That's another option you can go for. And I can feel free to click away. Now, the second I'm done speaking to this character, it'll instantly swap me back through into the previous mode. And I've not been able to trick it out. You know, I've gone to weird, like, elements of the UI, thinking, oh, does it know? Does it know to give me my cursor? And it really does. So, like, pet management. You wouldn't think, oh, does it know to keep your cursor? But it really does, you know. It's thought of a lot. And, you know, massive credit to the author of the mod to actually sit down and make this big change, because it's actually what makes the mod most viable. So anyway, that's pretty much the combat mod for you guys. Those are the two core elements. One's a UI overhaul. The other is some tweaks to combat. If you like what you see, I'm just going to tell you guys how to install and go over a couple of the options available in the mod in the rest of the video. So let's have a quick look. Okay guys, so let's talk about the installation. It's actually very simple and quite forgiving in my opinion too, in the way that it works. Like if you install combat mod but you don't really like it, basically you can just ignore that it's even there and just use a different shortcut to run the game. But the start of the installation is just making a couple of simple changes actually in game. Namely, number one, you want to make sure your chat box here isn't set like this. If it's set with the big black background, it can kind of mess things up, though there is an option if you want. I would just recommend you hide that, okay? That's the first thing you want to do. And then you're going to come into the in-game options and just make a couple of changes to the way that the camera works. First, your graphics options, you want to make sure you are on windowed full screen. I don't know why, but it needs this to actually be able to pull information, I guess, from what's going on in the UI and so forth. So that is like an absolute must. To be honest, why wouldn't you run windowed full screen anyway? It's just so nice. It lets you all tab out the game really easily while still getting all the full screen benefits. So make sure you've got that in your graphics options. And then over in your general options, there are two things you need to do. You need to enable auto targeting. And this is the reason why you're probably not going to be a better player for running this mod. Auto-targeting, for any skilled person in any format of the game, I would just say have it off. But for the combat mod, the way it works, because you're meant to be able to look at an enemy and then just start attacking them without having to tab target, you need auto-targeting on. So make sure that's on. And the other really important one is promote skill target. This thing needs to be disabled. Now, what promote skill target does is it means that if you're targeting someone and then you turn around and spin all over the place and do these crazy flips, the game will keep that target locked. However, in the combat mod, because the idea is you're hitting whoever you're looking at and, you know, you've got kind of that action experience, you need to have this off. So these two combined like this, auto-targeting on, promote skill target off. It means as you look at enemies, you target them, and as you look in different directions, it actively swaps your target to wherever you're looking at. That's about it. Other stuff is obviously up to you, your regular preferences. I still like to use the same ground targeting, fast cast with range indicator, and that's about it. That's all you have to do in-game, and most of the installation is now complete. Alright, with that out of the way, what you're going to want to do is go to the link in the description. If there is any video I forget to put the link in the description, it should not be this one. Go to the link down in the description and it will bring you to this web page you can see here, which for the record has full written instructions on the installation at the same time too. But basically you just want to hit this and download the Immersive Combat Mod 1.4.3. You want to save it and open the RAR. And once you've opened the RAR, you're going to want to navigate to your Guild Wars 2 installation folder. So that's the one in like your C drive probably, and then program files, x86 if you're on a 64-bit system, and then the Guild Wars 2 folder. So here, for example, this is my Guild Wars 2 installation folder. It's quite bloated because not only do I have the Immersive Combat mode installed, but I also have sweet effects. There was a time as well where with these two mods they actually didn't work together, but now they do work together, so there's going to be no issues there. So what you want to do is go to this RAR that you grabbed and just drop it all wholesale into this directory. Once you've got it all in the directory, you'll find that there's this thing here called Icm, an application, okay? This is what you double click to run Guild Wars 2 in Immersive Combat mode. So if you don't like it here, you can obviously right click it, you can go create a shortcut and drop it on your desktop. You can even change the icon of that shortcut to be the same as your Guild Wars 2 icon, and bada bing, bada boom, there you go. You've now got two different ways you can launch Guild Wars 2. One with the mode enabled, one with it disabled. And that's it. The next time you go in Guild Wars 2, the mod will be active. Lastly, there are some options you do have available to you, and if you want to configure some of those, then you will also find in the same directory there is this text document here called the Icm Config. This is like an INI file, okay? So when the mod runs, it will read from this to see which options you want enabled. So it's very simple. It actually has all the information directly in here. But basically, you're just going to use double backslashes to toggle stuff on or off. So, for example, if I didn't want any of the combat stuff, if I just wanted the UI stuff, this bit here that says combat mode, I would just add // And there you go, we're done. Now, when I log in, it will change all of my UI, but it will not change the way that the combat functions. So I do want the combat changes, so I'll leave it there. And you've got a bunch of other options. Here you can disable the mouse wheel zooming in or zooming out, which is what I did, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with that. You can choose to turn on all of these different elements of the UI here, the border, and there are even some like experimental options too. Like this one here, select the target under the crosshair, but it's only experimental. So you can try this stuff out. That's the way it works, and you know, it's a lot of fun. I would really recommend, if you want to make a new ult, but you're really intimidated by how bored you're going to get because you've already done like 5 of them, maybe give this this mode a shot. One final like disclaimer thing, okay? This thing is not sanctioned by ArenaNet, but they are not like punishing people for using it either. So you're not going to get banned for running this. This doesn't hit any of their criteria for a bannable offense, okay? This does not give you an advantage over other players. This does not simulate more than 1 key press for every key press you do. You know, you click once, it attacks once. So they really have no reason to get people in trouble for running this. But just do be aware that, like, they don't support it either, right? So if something goes wrong, which I sincerely doubt anything can go wrong, but if something does go wrong, you can't go to ArenaNet support and say, oh, I need help with this. They're not going to be able to help you out, so you've got to take it on your own shoulders. But that's it, guys. I'm glad I finally did a video on this. You know, it is really cool, and to showcase someone else's work like this is always a joy. You know, as many people as possible deserve to see how cool this thing is. And let me know if you've ever ran it before. I want to hear stories about people who ran the mode, because, you know, it's kind of old now, but actually ended up stopping using it and what like caused that transition, and also new people to start using it. Tell me any stories you've got about how cool it is. Anyway, thanks guys a whole bunch. I will see you tomorrow for another video. Have a great evening.